Welcome back to Rowing Friends, where we dive into the people, stories, and our friends behind the sport we love. Today's special guest brings a lifetime of rowing experience, a heart for community, and serious commitment to safety and access. Matt Logue is a fellow University at Buffalo alumni and has been the executive director of Three Rivers Rowing Association since 2019, and currently serves on the U.S. Rowing Safety Committee as well as being an assistant level referee. But his rowing story started long before that, back in the late 90s on the Buffalo waterfront with Canisius High School and Westside Rowing Club. From coaching every level of athlete to leading impactful programs at Row New York, like adaptive rowing, juvenile justice initiatives, and more, Matt has dedicated his career to making our sport more inclusive, more organized, and more sustainable. Let's dive into Matt's journey from boathouses of Buffalo to the heart of Pittsburgh rowing, and we hope you enjoy our conversation with our fellow UB rowing friend, Matt Logue.
So Matt, what are you doing right now in rowing? I know Adrian knows a little bit more probably than I do, but I know you're in Pittsburgh, right?
Pittsburgh, yeah. So right now I'm the executive director at Three Rivers Rowing Association. That's my full-time day job. But I also sit on the U.S. Rowing Safety Committee, so I do a little bit of work with them at the national governing body level as well. And then,
Bet.
yeah. So enough to keep busy for a while.
Sure, yeah. Any news on the safety? Any like hot tips you can give a new board member on a high school rowing team?
Was the hot tips a pun about the upcoming weather we're having this week? Because supposed to get some record temperature, so I would recommend checking out the new heat guidelines that were
Yeah.
recently posted. I mean, it's on the safety side of things, like, there's a lot of stuff happening. We're trying to get a lot more digestible information out there to a lot of like new rowing organizations and there's a lot of organizations that are either student run, as we knew from UB, or parent run at the high school level. And we get a lot of people calling up like, hey, what do I do about this? So we're trying to really take those questions and turn them into resources that are out on the web, either on the US rowing website, or I don't know if you guys have checked in with the launch recently, that kind of module based learning. It's accessible to all US rowing members, and just try to get more information out that way, because it's safety's paramount in our sport, as we all know. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that we encounter out there, so but it's all
Yeah.
good, it's all fun.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, as I think Adrian and I may have talked about this in a previous podcast, but it's interesting being on the parent side of things after, like, I feel like I'm in a unique position as a parent because I'm jumping into this after having years of being part of the sport, and things don't really phase me the same, or I don't have these like the same thoughts that other new parents have, you know? And plus I kind of have a whole picture about what something looks like in terms of a practice. I don't know if that's necessarily good or bad. Sometimes I just think I take things for granted and maybe I shouldn't, you know? But like other parents are like, well, like why wait, they don't wear life jackets in the boat when they're rowing? Like, like these kinds of things. And it's really interesting to kind of be at the other end where like parents, because it's not like soccer where you're there watching your kid on the sideline. Like you don't really get a front row seat to see them at practice every day. And it's in a sport where things can go wrong and be dangerous in certain situations.
I remember there was a D1 athletic director that spoke at a US rowing conference decades ago, and he just came out and said he had one of the most successful rowing programs in the country at the time in his school. He's like, I hate your sport. It's I want a sport with four walls or a field that I can sit in one spot and see everything. You guys are going miles on end on water that's 3 feet to 300 feet deep, 33 degrees to 85 degrees. Like you travel everywhere, like that outside perspective of the sport, like I really appreciated that, because like, all right, how do I make that again digestible and comprehensible to somebody that's coming in new to the sport, to ease their concerns, because obviously we want to grow the sport, and we can't do that
Yeah.
if everybody's afraid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there another sport that's at all comparable to those, excessive parameters? I don't know. It's
Not when you
interesting.
throw in the cost of the equipment. I mean,
Yeah.
cross country maybe, because you're running a lot of miles out of sight, but
Maybe sailing.
even then you're on
Oh,
land.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sailing, sailing probably has the same
Yep.
type of issues that we do. I mean, Matt, what's like the number one thing that safety wise that people tend to ignore, but is gets to be it gets to be a huge issue?
It's a good question. I mean, Kate, you mentioned life jackets, that's always a hot topic. And I wouldn't say there's like one number one thing across any given, because again, our sport also does middle school through senior citizens, right? And it could be different for those age groups. Ability to swim and say, have self-rescue opportunities if you ever do find yourself in the water at any age is obviously critical. And when you take that out to, just on water accidents as a whole, not just in rowing, the majority of deaths happen when there's no life jackets involved. Now, rowing, sometimes life jackets are in the boat, sometimes life jackets are on the person, but at the furthest, they're in a safety launch that's 20 feet away from the boat. So, there's those opportunities. We're seeing a lot of, health incidents at, with older individuals at the masters level and cardiac issues while rowing, just because we're seeing so much increase in heat and humidity in a lot of the racing venues, particularly in the South and Midwest right now. And to your point earlier, Kate, about taking things for granted. I mean, we see masters like, I don't need to stretch. I don't need to
Yeah.
warm up. I'm just going to go hop in a boat and row. And, there's ripple effects there. So, I mean, there's a variety of things that are out there, but ultimately we are a very safe sport when you think about it at the 10,000-foot level of the number of people we put on the water in different conditions and the very few, knock on wood, incidents. There's always going to be incidents, there's always going to be risk, but we ultimately are pretty safe for what we do. And that's really a testament to a lot of the coaches and program leaders out there that are investing in coaches and are investing in safety and training and things like that. And we just want to keep those resources accessible and getting more people into it and really be a part of the conversation. I've always approached safety from the conversational standpoint, not the punitive standpoint. Like, let's not talk about it. Let's not make safety that elephant in the room that we don't talk about until there's an incident. Let's have conversations and see where gaps are and make people feel comfortable around it and feel comfortable saying like, hey, I don't like this, what can we do? And I think the closer we can get to that conversational approach to safety rather than the they're not letting me do this or I can't do that or let's shove it to the side, the better our sport will be.
Yeah, good point. Well, we dove right into like some serious topics.
The heavy
How
stuff
about
first.
some heavy stuff? Yeah. How about some fun stuff? Tell us like what's going on that's exciting and, either your general area or like what you're involved with, your team, or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously like just getting back on the water for the summer season is really exciting. I don't know if you guys raced ahead of the Ohio, so you're kind of familiar with the body of water that we row on down here in Pittsburgh, and things down here in the city as a whole are just really evolving, especially on the waterfront. So it's a real exciting time to be in a city like this. It's, you know, developing their waterfront and interested in waterfront activities. The city's really supportive of our sport and trying to bring more people into Head of the Ohio. We've recently been a U.S. Rowing Indoor National Championship host site for the last couple of years as well in the winter. So there's a lot of excitement around it. We're really just excited about introducing more people to the sport, getting them on the water. I'm real excited for Head of the Ohio now that I get to run it instead of row it now. So it's a little bit different. But it's Pittsburgh's just such a unique city with the bridges and the culture around here, and it just makes my job a lot of fun. And bringing people in, we're the only rowing club in the Pittsburgh pool, which is like our river's divided into pools because of locks and dams on the various three rivers here. So like when people get to be out in a boat and that first time rowing under like one of the bridges or getting downtown and rowing past the baseball stadium and the football stadium, like instant hooked on the sport, which is, makes it's a lot of fun to see the individuals get excited about it. And it's a lot of fun for us to know that, there is continued growth potential and in our sport as a whole. And, it's so that sort of stuff is pretty fun.
Yeah.
And, looking forward to building on that and seeing where it can go.
And is it a team that's at all levels, like juniors all the way through?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way Three Rivers is organized, our club programs has middle school through masters, but we're also home to a couple scholastic and collegiate programs. So Duquesne University, University of Pittsburgh, and Carnegie Mellon all row out of our campus, and we have a couple scholastic programs that row out of our campus as well. So it's this real melting pot of ages, abilities, and interests. Right? Not everybody wants to join our sport to race at a high level. Some people just want to get fit and have fun with friends. This is the first organization I came to that has what's called the Summer Rowing League, which is effectively bar league rowing. You get 10 of your friends, you sign up for a boat, you row once a week for 10 weeks for an hour and a half. Then it's burgers and beers at the boathouse with all the other boats that are a part of that session. And then you have a race at the end of the 10-week session. I mean, and it's a lot of fun. People just have fun and hang out at the boathouse. And it's a great community building, cultural building, that professional networking, like some of like Highmark and UPMC, two of the bigger health groups down here. They each have a boat and then they get together and talk and just have fun. So like it's great to see the sport is still, interesting to so many people with different levels of experience and, interest going forward. So it's really fun to have a front row seat for that.
Yeah, definitely. That does sound like fun. I've got a bunch of my master's friends that listen to this, so I'm sure I'll be hearing about it. Like, okay, when are we starting our bar league, Kate?
Do it. They come up with like the real clever team names on race day. Like you can have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, definitely.
I tried to get a whole team of like Buffalo expats down here together, but it never came to be yet.
Well, it could still be on the to-do list.
Yeah. And we have an event for them ahead of the Ohio. So if you get your bar league going, come on down and race with us and you'll have a good event.
Cool. Yeah.
Each year for our Head of the Ohio.
Yeah.
October 4th and 5th.
Fourth
So,
and- okay.
First full weekend of October.
Okay.
Yeah. To see, maybe Kate and I'll do a double or something. I'll
Hey,
the dumpster double on the top of my minivan, and I'll meet you there.
Yeah, definitely. I have to check and make sure. I don't know. Do you happen to know? Does it conflict with the head of the Hudson? I think we'd like to.
I don't know. Ever since
Yeah.
I left New York State, I lost all track of the New York
Yeah.
State race schedule.
That's okay. Yeah, I know my kids row at that one, but if there's a weekend in there that we don't, I will definitely do that. Sounds like fun.
Oh, that'd be great to see you guys come down here.
Yeah.
And if you're worried about transporting the double, I can find you one.
Okay.
All
All
guy.
right. Well, we'll bring the dumpster double then. We'll leave it in Rochester.
We know how to do it, but I don't know
how to do it. Yeah,
if we
it looks. I mean, it looks completely ridiculous on top of my minivan. It's just like it's yeah, but it makes it there. It made it from Boston back here, and I take it around town. I haven't really taken it out of town since its big trip from Boston to here. So
We've had a couple Rochester trailers come down the last couple of years, so maybe you can find an open rack.
yeah,
Very-
Rochester Boat Club. I
Mhm.
know that they came down last year. I'm not sure if Genesee Rowing Club, GRC, may have come out for you guys.
They might have had like a single entry. A lot of masses kind of in one off. I know RIT was here, so like Carol brought a trailer down.
And did DJ go down?
No, U of R had another event or something going on that day. So
Yeah. Yeah. So those are people who were out of your boathouse at one point and now who are in Rochester, right? Doing
yeah.
Big-
Carol and DJ were out of Three Rivers and relocated to Rochester. You guys got two of our best. Not that we're mad or bitter or anything, but we're mad. You got some good work out there, and you're doing good things, and we wish them the best. But yeah, they're definitely missed down here.
Yeah.
But it's crazy how small the rowing world is, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
definitely.
It's something that we always kind of talk about, the fact that there's like this small group of people, especially from our UB class, that have kind of all were still like heavily involved in rowing and heavily involved in just like keeping programs going and doing different things. And we talked to Dave, who's kind of spearheading the Buffalo group of people out in Syracuse, and you're down and doing that in Pittsburgh. So that's amazing. And I wanted to ask you one more safety question, because I know that we had this concern last summer. We had the kill switch on the outboard motor as an issue. Like, what are your thoughts, like making coaches more aware of that they could be the hazard if they're not wearing their kill switch? Because I know that this particular coach, I don't know if it fell off and they fell out, or if they just didn't have it there. So what are your thoughts on boards and kill switches and how to make coaches more aware of that they could be the safety issue?
yeah, I mean, that's tough because it gets back into how do you make safety conversational rather than confrontational. You don't want to be like, hey, you're the problem, because nobody's going to listen at
Mhm.
that point. I mean, what we try to really preach is like situational awareness and really focusing high on the responsibilities of coaches. And even we push this down to steers persons and coxswains and things of that nature about, you have to have both the micro and the macro level view, and going through that checklist of making sure everything's set and in a safe position before we go out is important. And, the kill switch is a tough one because it became a federal law, Coast Guard regulated law for all watercraft over, I think it's 16 or 22 feet. I'd have to double check that because they keep changing the different laws. But, which a lot of our coach boats are. We have a lot of like still water boats for our river, and the kill switch was a big, people just never did it before, or only when they thought about it, and they're like, well, we move around a lot. Now what are we going to do? So like we got 10-foot carabiner clips, so the coaches have more flexibility while to move around the boat while still connected to the kill switch, and that's made the world of difference because you're not instituting a rule to restrict them. You're saying here's a safety law and rule that we should follow, and here's a way to not for it not to impact your ability as a coach to move around or do the things that you need to do to run a safe practice. So yeah, I'd really try to like paint the bigger picture that it's all of our responsibilities to be as safe as possible at all times, and these are the things that we all can do to help achieve to collaborate to achieve that goal. And
Do you know where you can get
it's
the
not
extra
just the
long?
coaches, it's everybody.
Do you know where you can get the extra long carabiner ones?
We just ordered them on Amazon. It was like a 10 pack for
Because
12
I
bucks.
always see like the little short ones, and I'm always the coach that like stands up to say something and then shuts my launch off. I'm like,
Yeah.
you go to grab the, or you're showing people how to do something that's like click. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, no, they're on Amazon. I
Otherwise,
could send the link if you want, but yeah, they've been a game changer for us because the carabiner is so much easier to just clip on your life jacket or your belt loop, and then the small wrist guard or something they used to provide with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to take it back in that
No,
dark
no,
area, but I had
that's
to ask. I had to ask. I had that question.
Safety's
that's
not dark. It's it's important.
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 And
Important.
We're shining a light on it.
it's got me thinking too, because like I like what you said that it should be conversational and not confrontational, because so many times I feel like if I ask the coach, like you said, like it can be a tough topic to bring up because it almost seems like I'm bringing it up because of something that like it's not it's not that I saw something and I'm accusing you of not handling it right. And so it's like a delicate way to like say, as somebody who used to coach years ago, I have not coached recently, can honestly say on this, and not putting anyone in the bad spot, but like I never wore a kill switch. Like that just wasn't part of our daily routine. So now I have no idea that I would even notice that a coach wasn't using that, if we even have that in our launches. I have no idea right at this minute. So yeah, because I was kind of curious about that from like, because so I'm a new vice president of our board for our team. And like in that role, God, I am so eager to ask so many questions, but I feel like when I ask questions, people will get like, like, here's another question. But that's like the one thing is safety. Like I feel like we should have a committee. We should have like people should understand what happens, and yeah, it's gonna have to figure out how to bring this about in a way that's not confrontational, right? Like to figure that out. So any resources that the launch, which I have to check out too, because I didn't know that existed, that would be helpful as somebody, as a parent, to like be able to point to say, okay, it's like a ready-made, here's a list, here's a system, here's some suggestions. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of that's I can't recommend enough that every boathouse should have a safety committee, and it should have diverse input or inputs in it. It's like we have a safety committee where there's a rep from every one of our master's programs, our youth program, a college rep. I sit on it as a non-coaching member, and like getting and our paddlers. We have a couple dragon boat programs to train out of our campus, so everybody has a voice on there, and the knowledge base is vast too. We have, very experienced D1 coaches. We have individuals that have been rowing for 50 and 60 years, and we have high performance coaches that, that obviously have different approaches to things out there. So yeah, can't recommend that enough. There are boathouse safety checklists, launch safety checklists, all these things are sitting on the website. The safety committee does can come out to your boathouse and do just like a safety audit walkthrough, like a non-penalized. It's not like, all right, this boathouse is now on the bad list. No, again, it's like, hey, let's walk through, let's see what you're doing, let's see what we're seeing, let's find a way to make sure that we can be safe. It's really, again, a resource and not a restriction type of deal. So yeah, take things out there. If you got any questions, I love talking about this stuff. I mean, I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to both rowing and rowing safety, but yeah, I don't think we can be too safe. And, it all
Yeah.
goes to the sustainability of the sport, right? And,
Right.
if we need to stop being in headlines for bad things and start being in
Yes.
headlines for good things. And we want to grow this. And, we see it a lot, especially like with LA 28 coming up. World Rowing recently reclassified our sport as classic rowing. So now there's classic rowing, coastal rowing, beach rowing, and, we don't want to see our sport completely phased out. So what can we do at like our respective levels to keep growing it and keeping that interest alive? And a lot of it comes right back to safety.
I think a big
Yeah.
thing with growing rowing in general is to not lose the athletes after they've gone through, whether it be a high school program and a college program. Like, because I can think of there's plenty of people that we rode with who haven't touched an oar since we rode with them. And I always feel like, on the end of like, it's not like US Rowing doesn't know who these people are because at one point they had their email addresses, their phone numbers, their names, they had them on the membership list. Like I always think of like the idea of like learn to row, but like I think return to row would be way more beneficial for and lower hanging fruit for our sport. If we brought back the people who we've lost, we could easily keep the sport going. I mean, I think of the hundreds and hundreds of people who go through high school and college programs, after 4 or 5 years and then never never stay with rowing. I mean, like I don't know, every graduate should get an erg. Every rower should like every rower should like learn sculling. Like I feel like that sometimes holds us back because if that rower went 4 years and never learned how to scull, like how are they going to independently be involved with a boathouse? I mean, the only way that they could do it is through a team activity. But I mean, like a beer league would definitely be a great way to bring like a return to rowing group back in because you could be rowing sweep, you can bring in large numbers of people, but I really think the key is sculling and not losing, rowers after those 4 years, whether it be a 4 years of high school or 4 years of college. I think there's people out there who just don't use rowing for fitness and they spend their fitness dollars somewhere else. We need them to spend their fitness dollars with rowing. So that's my little soapbox for today.
Well, I mean, have you heard about Return to Rowing Day? Like, do you know that's
When is what day is that?
well, it's going to come in 2026, but there's actually a small masters work group that, I mean, it's honestly called Return to Rowing. So I thought maybe somebody like leaked it to you. I hope I'm not leaking
No.
privileged information right now, but there is a work group within US Rowing that wants to do a Return to Rowing Day, similar to like National Learn to Row Day in 2026. And they're going to pilot it at a handful of boathouses and see how it goes. And yeah, I mean, for that very reason, I mean, we look at our demographics every year at Three Rivers and like that 26 to 45, 26 to 50 age group is definitely one of our smaller groups overall. I will say it's starting to trend up, which is kind of recent. And I think a lot of it has to do with what you were just saying, Adrian. And one of the silver linings of the pandemic was people were forced to learn how to scull and get back in those smaller boats. And like we've seen a huge uptick in our adult learn to row sculling lessons and private lessons on that side. And there's a lot of social factors that are just different these days as well. For like people like, are you worried that we don't have people? And I was like, yeah, I'd like to get more, but what were you doing between 25 and 50? You were starting a family, you were getting established in your jobs. And, that was, and jobs at that time were all 100% office jobs. Now we're seeing a lot more virtual and hybrid work, and people have more time to come at different times and rearrange their work schedules. So we see people starting to come back a little bit earlier now. There was this article about a year and a half ago that people are buying more homes so that they have more room for their pets than having kids, right? So now that there's like that group of young adults that might not have as many kids as the past, they're like, hey, I got free time with my partner. We want to try different sports and starting to sprinkle back. So I think we're kind of trending a little bit in that direction. But again, and you got me on my soapbox. Like it's a double-edged sword, right? We got people in that age group that 25 to 50 age group that are coming back because they have more time because their jobs are flexible and they're not there's a they're not currently having as many kids, which is great. But if they're not having kids, then where does our youth growing up? And like,
Yeah.
it's just moving the problem through the cycle, which, it's a fun challenge to have, and we're never going to solve all of it. But
These are big problems. So yeah.
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 but I
But
mean,
also, I think it's hard for young people to meet each other too. So that actually could be part of it too, right? If it was like, this single scene, you go down and you join a team and you meet some younger people your age that are new in the workforce. Like that's another way
that's
of,
a good thought.
and rowers make good spouses. So
There you go. I wonder if we can like make that like a learn to row singles mingle or something.
I
Like,
love it. Yeah.
now you're in a boat on the middle of a river, get to know each other.
Well, you if you're holding oars, you can't have your phone. So
There you go.
holding your
That's
phone.
true.
Yeah.
But you're also not
That's
supposed to be talking a boat, so it'll be really awkward.
Yeah.
Well, it's the after practice. You can see that's the thing. It's a new experience, right? You have something
Yeah.
to talk about. And even if you're not in the group with someone at work the next day, you got a new topic to talk about with somebody at work. So, it's a
Yeah.
Well,
conversation
tying this
starter.
back to like UB real quick, this is jogging a memory. Wasn't there like a reality dating show where people went on a blind date and like one of their dates was in a quad on the Schuylkill River and Defo was in that quad?
No way. Oh, we got it. We
I
got to
I think I
do some
remember
research
something
on
about
this.
that. Like, but yeah,
That's great.
Oh my
might be an urban
How
legend, but
stressful.
I really feel like that happened.
That totally makes sense. And I could see that being good TV, but oh my God, how stressful would that be?
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we got to talk about UB.
Yeah.
So Matt, how did you get introduced to UB Crew? What's your UB Crew origin story?
Yeah, so I rode it at Westside through high school. I rode at Canisius High School and during the school year and Westside Rowing Club during the summer. Did 4 years of that, and then started UB in the fall. And I was like, I'm gonna take a break from rowing. I'm not gonna, just get into the school routine. I was a commuter, so I didn't know like what the traffic and all that other stuff was gonna be like. But that lasted about 3.5 weeks before I really missed the sport. Wanted to again meet people, engage with the campus because again, as a commuter, you don't have like that dorm connection to meeting people and stuff like that. So I'll never forget my first day at the boathouse. I was asked to pick up another novice walk-on coxswain that lived in my neighborhood. I forgot who I reached out to, but they're like, "Oh, you live in this area? Can you pick up this person?" Go to pick up this person. They overslept. They were late, so I was really late getting to the boathouse, and I didn't get put into a boat. I had never met the coaches who were Joe and Tom at the time, so like, I'll just ride along in the launch. And Joe being Joe is like, this is water, this is land. We row on water, we don't row on land. Come learn something. I was like, all right, I got it. Just smile and nod. I'm the new guy. And man, just that first time on Tonawanda Creek, seeing how peaceful it was in the morning, and just like we went on those long rows, and it was a fall, so we started in the dark. And then when we spun around and the eights were there, they're like 4 or 5 guys and the 1/8 that I rode with in high school. So we knew each other and everything. And, one of the coxswains said hello, called me by name. And both Joe and Tom were like, these guys? It's like, yeah, I rode with them in high school. And it's like, oh, you rode. And it's like, all right. And the whole conversation shifted. They were super friendly. They're like, all right, we can work with this. And it was kind of like a fun, small world of rowing introduction to UB Crew. And yeah, just got in a boat the next practice and just really enjoyed being a part of it. We had a great freshman crew, a lot of good walk-ons that, still very good friends with to this day, even though we don't talk as much. But, when we do, it's like not a day has passed, we just pick up right where we left off. And yeah, just a lot of good times and good memories and good people met out on that Tonawanda Creek.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you started, we were already at the creek, right? So you were a freshman in, was it 99? Is that right?
A freshman in the fall of 2000. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we only overlapped a year.
Yeah.
And Adrian,
I
were you
graduated-
already? Yeah. So that's so
graduated-
funny.
Yeah, I graduated in 2000. So maybe did we not row at the same time?
I don't remember meeting you until Westside because I was also when I was rowing at UB in the morning, I was coaching at Westside in the afternoon. So I think there was some crossover.
Maybe our connection is West Side because I coach for Narden.
Right. And I was
Yeah,
coaching
so I
with
coached for
Canisius.
Narden and with Tom Boyer. Tom Boyer was head coach. Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. that was a fun time. That was a
Mhm.
very fun, interesting time. It's though that was like the later years of Tom Boyer, not early Tom Boyer, but like kind of mid to later years of Tom Boyer.
Well, you
But
gotta remember it's all relative with Tom Boyer because he's still in the sport.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's
like
if you're calling the later years 99 to 2000 and he's
Yeah.
just crushing it in
I
2025.
I know, because like every
Sorry,
once in a while I see you. Sorry, Tom. Sorry, but he's forever young, man. He's been
Yeah.
coaching forever. So like, not that it wasn't this. I wasn't involved in the super early years of
Mhm.
Tom Boyer, but I guess I'm in the middle. But I just remember he was always his lightweights were always so efficient and fast and be careful if he told you to do it the first time. If you didn't do it the first time, forget it. You didn't want to hear how he was going to ask you to do it the second time. Like, but then, like, at the same time, he was such a sweetheart. He was, I mean, like, Tom is always so sweet to me and, like, always so generous with, like, his coaching time and talking rigging numbers. And, like, I mean, he's great. He's a great mind to pick as far as, like, if you're fixing a boat, if you're rigging for the particular race. Like he was always open for me to like call him up and be like, Tom, these are the girls that I'm working with. What are these are the numbers, this is the boat, what do you think? Like he was always really good about that. So
Yeah.
very thankful for my time at Westside with Tom and Narden. So yeah,
He
but
was
it must have been our overlap. So
Mhm.
that's
yeah.
the Narden Westside time. Okay. Yeah.
That that tells you like certain people just have this legend attached to their name, and he definitely was. I did not interact with Tom at all except for at one practice when I was rowing for Westside in the summer. And I think my coach either had to be out that day and he took over or something like that. And there's this one lesson that I actually still use. Like recently, I've told my kids about it. I still don't know because I'm not in the boat or at the boathouse to like see if it works. But he talked about like if you have a 5 gallon bucket of water. I don't know if you guys have heard this. He explains it. One lesson: 5 gallon bucket of water that's full, and you go to pick it up. Like he talked about how, some people get pretty caught up in if your arms are bent or perfectly straight. And if you do that and you go to pick it up and you have proper form, straight back, and you use your legs, your arms, your elbows are going to be bent a little bit. And so that's like that feeling of connection is how he talked about it. And I still think that was a really good visual and like way to think about the connection in the boat and like proper arm position and how much your arms don't have to be exactly straight. But I remember that. So Tom, I had you one day and I still remember something that you taught me.
Yeah, you can't not respect a person that like Tom that's been around for so long and given so much to the sport to still have those types of lessons coming through today. I mean, it's huge. He's had a huge impact on the sport, especially in the Buffalo and Southern Ontario region.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's almost kind of like full circle too, because like, did you guys hear like West Side now controls the UB Boathouse, like in the rowing out there? So
Yeah.
West Side North,
Is that the official name for it now or?
or was it Northwest? Are we gonna start? Do we want to name it after Kanye's?
Well, you know what's so funny? Like, because we talk about how like rowing is like one of those sports where like if you don't know the history of how things happen, you'll be like, why did they end up this way? And a lot of times it's like everybody gathers their oars and like, I'm gonna go play somewhere else. And then next thing you know, about 20 or 30 years later, somebody's like, oh, well, this is a great place to row. Why don't we do this together? And like, it's just like it's eventually it all comes around. Like I feel like especially here in Rochester, there's so many boathouses, and a lot of the boathouses have kind of come to be because of this whole I'm gonna pick up my oars and go do it somewhere else. But eventually, like every once that group of people kind of phases out of the boathouse, people realize that like we're still a community and we still need to all work together. Some places are going to have better water earlier, and it's going to benefit all of us if we all are able to get out in the water nice and early, and everybody's able to row safely and be able to be in a space like Tonawanda Creek that you can get out there and enjoy and then not be so anxious about the ice boon and all that type of stuff and like waiting for that to happen. And it just makes sense for all the different clubs within an area to work together, even though at times the reason why all the different clubs exist is because they didn't want to work together.
It's very poetic in that way, but I mean, I don't think any club. I mean, yes, West Side's going to benefit from that early water time, 100%. And I don't know what some of their other plans are, but I'm just mostly happy for UB rowing because that had gone dormant for so long, and like that equipment's just sitting there, and we know that water's just sitting there. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's a catalyst to see our program get back on the map and grow a little bit, and see how things shake out there. I mean, college rowing is at a completely different level than it was when we were there too. Like Dadville's is no longer in Philly. That's
Yeah.
very foreign to me.
Yeah.
I get it, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
what's D1 going to look like, and how is that ripple effect going to come down to club rowing? It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's getting real. They're taking the fun out of sport.
I know. Yeah, that's true. Hopefully not for good. Hopefully we can
Yeah.
get through it.
It's
Yeah.
all cyclical. This is just
Yeah.
the one part of the circle.
It's just part of it. Have we heard more about what's going on with UB and how much further along they are with getting the club up and running? I know that Kate and I had talked to, is it Andy and
Andy,
you were at States and they had
States.
a 4?
They had a quad and a 4, both men's boats. I forgot to tell you that they did reach out to me on Instagram finally. They saw my post, so I don't know if maybe they just hadn't had access to it for a while, but they definitely will. They said they're going to reach out and connect, and hopefully they're going to talk to their e-board to get somebody on the podcast to give us an update. I think Andy was a little bit busy at the end, but maybe we'll still get him on too. But yeah. So it definitely looks good. It looks like there's a lot of optimism there. So that's good.
That's awesome. I mean, I think they were just spring only this year, right? Like, I don't know if they had much of a fall thing. So, like, if they got 2 boats in the spring and now got a summer and new freshman class to recruit from in the fall, hopefully those numbers really skyrocket for them.
Yeah. And they've got West Side, which is a real nice advantage. So anybody who does kind of get introduced to the sport during the school year, if they're in the Buffalo area, they have a natural place that they can, and they have those groups, right? They have the U23, so they can continue, learning and getting better over the summer.
The
Yeah.
tanks alone, just getting them out in down in the
Sure.
beginners down in the tanks, like.
Oh yeah.
I know that hooked a few people my freshman year. Like, oh, these tanks are cool. I feel better learning in here than on the water. So,
Yeah.
whatever works.
Exactly. Yeah. We don't have any tanks. Well, I shouldn't say no. We do have, so Union has new tanks, but it's a small, like they have like I think 4 seats. And they can go either sculling or sweep, but still there's only 4 seats. So it's kind of limiting with what you can do with that, but they're the only ones in this area as far as I know, cuz
Did
sometimes
Hudson River get rid of theirs? Was it?
Well, Hudson River isn't very they're not very close to us.
Oh, that's right. You're up. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're up in Saratoga area. My bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, yes, there's drivable distance ones, but nothing super close or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I go back and forth on tanks, whether I like them or not. Like I think it's really great for someone who's like it's that first introduction, very low hanging fruit, like keeping people safe, especially because I feel like especially for adults, a lot of times they're worried about the whole water aspect of it. Like I think I've mentioned on the podcast before where people ask me weird questions like how deep is the water? Or I'm like, I don't know. I just thought about that. Like, or like, just like all those weird questions that kind of like takes all that out of the way. And then it kind of gives them an opportunity to kind of like feel the weight of the oar in their hand and to feel and to hear the water. Like, I think that's really the cool part about it. But then like, as far as like teams who are already experienced and then using the tanks, like, I think that like from a physical therapy standpoint, and like, it's really a technical tool, and we have the Pittsford Indoor Rowing Center, and a lot of coaches wanna, like, get up to speed in there, and I'm like, "No, no, no, no," I'm like, "This is not what it's all about." I'm like, "This is very much about, like, technique and, like, the ability to follow someone else and the ability to have that flow and feel." Like, I think like, if you're starting to do workouts in there, I'm just kind of like, the tanks aren't built like, that particular tank is not built in a fashion that would really lend itself, not to mention that the rigging in there is very static in comparison to the boat, so you have to be kinda careful depending on what size person you're putting in there because the metrics of it could be very different than that of the boat. So, I think it's a great place to introduce, like, someone who's only been sweeping to sculling or someone who's only been sculling to sweeping, those new learner rowers, but then for, like, actual workouts, I don't know if I feel as excited about it as the benefit from that because like I said, from a physical therapy standpoint, just the forces are just a little bit different than what you would have on the water and people can do all sorts of crazy wonky things and injure people during the winter, and then they have to come see me. So yeah.
Say, was that a plug for your business or no?
Yeah. So
Float tanks, Adrian busy.
yeah, keep me busy. Yeah, try to do some at-rate pieces.
I couldn't agree more with you. Like, if there was ever a tank to do full rate pieces, like it would be Pittsford with that automatic current flow. Like we have static water tanks, kind of like that we're at Westside. You never want to do full rate pieces in there. And
Yeah. So, but people get tempted, and then like I just don't think it's like, I don't know. I think you could spend your time more valuably. I can't speak today. Like learning some different technique and just like learning blade control and being able to work on flow and that kind of thing. But then from there, take everybody I can get them on the erg and just go ahead and do, your rate pieces, maybe on some sliders. I love sliders. I mean, Dave was a big proponent of sliders. Dave is a really lucky guy because he talked about those sliders. He got those sliders for free. He got all the boats from CRI for free. He's always in the right place at the right time. Like people are just giving him equipment. So, but he has a lot of sliders, and then he's got these frames that he uses because he has so many sliders to get everything lined up quickly. He has frames that the kids set down to set against the sliders so they're always in perfect distance away from each other, which I thought was really smart.
oh, that's perfect.
We've done a pyramid style with our sliders before. I don't know if you've ever seen that. So like you have one person at the front, and then you connect it to two ergs, and then you connect it like making a pyramid. But I will say that it is a little tricky because they have to be on there perfectly, otherwise they can come off during a piece. So that it was fun to do, but you have to be really careful.
Yeah, you have to send me a picture of the pyramid.
Oh, yeah, I'll put it on the
I mean,
podcast.
I've done like a full 8 in a hallway. When I was at MC, we would do down the hallway and do it that way. And I've never pyramid. Okay. All right. Yeah.
That sounds neat. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Learn something new every day.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we have to be creative with these indoor workouts because
there's so much of it. Like I feel like, we're in the meat and potatoes of like the nice weather right now. Like I was taking one of my clients out in the double the other day, and he usually rows on the canal, and he only gets a chance to row on the river in like early spring when there's no water in the canal, and late fall when they do the head of the Genesee. All the time in between, the river is beautiful. The river is like very calm, like not a lot of flow, not a lot of debris. So we go out there, and he's like, "This is amazing." I'm like, "This is summer rowing on the Genesee." Everybody sees the Genesee when it's at its worst. Like, like the head of the Genesee is like right when like all the leaves fall off of the trees. So there's like so much debris in the water. And then then we've had rain. So then the river's really moving. And so when you're working against all that current, it can really change your perspective on how the rowing is. But summertime is like kind of like this little capsule of time. And then next thing you know, we're back inside. And so then you got to get creative with the sliders or different types of equipment or lifting to kind of, get yourself ready for this time so you can enjoy it.
Yeah, one of the visits that we did with Hannah, this college had, I'll say it's Washington College. They have like the ideal location for their boathouse, and it's like less than a mile away from campus. But they have two boathouses actually. They have like the boathouse that holds the shells, and then they have another which looks like a more modern boathouse, just no rowing shells are in there, just different part of that property. And they have the erg room, and they have the tanks. And the neat thing, it was during a winter practice that we visited, and they were doing the erg workouts, they're getting the workouts in, and then they do another session in the tank room where they just do a mini lesson. And I thought it was really cool because the coach was able to actually hold the blade and like move it with the rower. So it's like an opportunity to do stuff like that, those like minute little things to learn and feel, which you can't really do on the water. You can't like use your motorboat while you're still holding on to somebody's oar. So I thought that was really cool, just to have that all in one spot and like be able to break up practice and like get a little taste of rowing while you're having to spend all your time in the erg room. Plus they're right on the river, so like, I mean, obviously, but like they have these like slide up glass doors that they can open up while they're erging. The only downside is they have to remember their sunglasses, or they turn the ergs around because it's where the sun rises. So if they're morning practice, it's a little sun right in your face.
How do you
problems?
Matt,
Yeah.
how do you guys handle winter down there? Like, when do you guys have to stop rowing? Like, is it
So we try to row as long as safely possible. Just, our river doesn't really, it does freeze over, but it doesn't get super thick ice, at least in the Pittsburgh pool. But like, so this year we finished on water rowing the week before Thanksgiving. So we were able to get out, stay out till then, and we were able to get back out gradually late February, mid Marchish, like kind of hit or miss. So like our river's very susceptible to high flow rates, especially when there's ice runoff and just normal spring rain. Oddly, right now it's at a very high rate. Usually we're like 9 to 15,000 kc at this time of year because, like you said, Adrian, in summer things just slow down and it's nice. But we've been hit with so much weird weather. We're up in the 50s, so like it's beautiful out today. Nobody's on the water. River's going too fast. So our indoor season typically varies between, you know, 3 to 4 months, which in the grand scheme of things, when you factor in the Christmas break and all that other stuff, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
I was actually joking with some of the kids and some of the staff over this past winter. I feel like the curmudgeon now because like back in my day, we didn't get on the water till like first week of May at Westside. So like, what are you guys complaining about? But we're really fortunate here at Pittsburgh because we have two locations as well. We have our Washington's Landing location that has a small weight room and about 50 ergs and sliders, and we do a lot of band and yoga type of weights out of there. And then we have our Millville campus, which is only a 5-minute drive away by car. It's a 3-minute row or motorboat. It's on the same body of water. It's just a little bit further up on the other shore, and that's got a larger weight room, more ergs, and the indoor tanks. And it's right in a park as well. So like we can do stuff outside. We can mix it up pretty well, and that helps keep things interesting. Our coaches do a really good job of trying to keep it creative and fun, but still follow a competitive training plan through those months and kind of go from there.
And you hosted the indoor race, correct? When was that? When will that come back around?
So it's going to be February 7th in 2026. And we've hosted it at the Pittsburgh Convention Center, which again is great. It's right on the river down here. So we don't have to go that far to set up. It's a really incredible building. And yeah, I mean, that's one of two local indoor races. Ours is open to all age groups. And then there's another high school only one called Erg in the Berg, hosted by one of the high school programs that rows on the Ohio River. And again, those are great ways to break up the monotony of indoor training as well, and get kids in a fun race mindset, and adults too, they come in. So
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of those indoor events. It's crazy to see, like, we had a lot of CrossFitters and like non-rowers starting to participate in these events.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool to see too.
Yeah. 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 Those
Oh, that's
CrossFitters.
But they don't like on water. They don't want to make that
No.
transition.
They love just the machine. But I'll have to put those dates in the show notes. I'll have to remember to do that. So so they'll have that for everyone to put on their calendar because that would be fun. I love a good ergata. I was always like when I coached, I was like, when can we stick an hour or two in here? Because I always hated the idea of doing the 2K at practice. I'm just like, ugh. I'm like, the kids would be at school all day thinking about it. They get to practice and not really want to do it. And then you'd have the kid who's like, oh, I got a stomach ache, ate the wrong thing at lunchtime. And then they wouldn't do it. So I like the idea of like the ergata. It's its own special day. You can do the 2K in the morning, get it done. It's not hanging over your head. And then to have that, like the enthusiasm of other people, like the energy of other people doing it, I think it always makes it easier for people to kind of jump in there and enjoy it rather than it being some type of drudgery that we're putting people through. So
I remember when I was coaching the freshmen one year, a long time ago, that my kids said the same thing. They're like, Coach, can you never tell us when we're having a 2K again? I always do better when I'm surprised. I'm like, yeah, if that's what you guys really want, that's fine. But I am going to say that 8 of you will be racing for a national championship in 6 weeks. So if that's going to freak you out, tell me now so I can pull you out of selected. And their tone changed a little bit. They were like, okay, we can handle this. We can handle
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's hard. I know. I see it. We have a small team. So it's like really they don't test like ever. So my daughter doesn't have like any 2Ks. She's taken like one, which it wasn't that impressive compared to where I think she probably would be, but she's so reluctant. It's like, well, if it's hard to do it on your own, right? It's hard to do it. And even when you're forced to do it, it's still hard to do it. So sometimes I'm just like, oh, I wish I would just make them do it. Just get it over with. Because then it's not so scary. Like it's scary when you only do it and you make this big thing once, once a season or something. But the more you do it, you're like, oh, well, there's always going to be another one.
Yeah. They're not one and done events. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, come on.
Mm,
It's an
yeah.
opportunity, not a test. To have fun.
Yes.
And I liked the idea of explain because I don't think it was really explained to us like when we did it, like what type of like from like now from like my physical therapy background, I'm like, it's a VO2 max test. It's not supposed to be easy. This is a test of your physiology. Like this is a test of your max ability to carry oxygen through your body. And I think if someone said that to me, like this is supposed to be hard, it's not easy for everybody. And if you're doing it the way that you're supposed to do it, it is a max performance test. So it's going to be extremely uncomfortable. It's not going to be fun. And if you're not perfect at it, you're not supposed to be because it's supposed to take you to the limit of your physiology. So like so with all of that kind of like wrapped into it, it would make it would have made it a little bit easier for me to wrap my mind around it. And I think like now there's so much really good technology. Like I use like Row Hero, and when I'm working with kids on their 2K, I'm like, let's see, like we can look at every single stroke. Like if I had this much data, I would have been like a rock star. Like cause as soon as I can like, cause what I'll do is I'll print all this out for a kid and it's like 5 pages worth of like Excel documentation. And we'll go through and we'll highlight all the strokes that were off of what you wanted to do. And then basically like usually within a test or two, I can get a kid to at least correct the first 1,000 to 1,500 worth of strokes. Like, and then on top of it, it's only like 200 to 250 strokes. So like you just put together 200 of your best and see what happens. Like, and keep in mind that this is testing like the max amount that you can possibly do physiologically. Like, I feel like sometimes that like kind of takes the edge off of it. And they're kind of like, oh, okay, so this is as much as my body can do. So the only part I have to worry about is the part like mentally that I need to control. Like the part, and most of the time it's like the part of the test where they're telling themselves that they can't do it. And I'm like, once we can kind of like pull that out of it, like you just get on it and you just do it and see what your body's able to do on that day. So I think like it's tough because sometimes we're just kind of like, yeah, get on there and pull. Then they don't understand that this is gonna be really difficult. you know, it's a tough test. I haven't done one in a while. I think Kate's probably out of the three of us, Kate's done one most recently because I haven't done one.
If you've done one in the last 18 years, then yeah, you've done one more recently.
Yeah. It's a little humbling when you do it after not doing it for so long and you're like really think you're going to do like a certain number and then you're like, oh yeah, okay. Well, that's where it is. That's where we're at.
What's funny because like like I had the same thing. I've sat down and done like erg workouts to try to get like some steady state back in every once in a while, and it's gotten to the point where I have to put a post-it note on the screen so I only see the stroke rate and time because my mind automatically defaults to my training splits from 25 years ago. And it's
Yeah.
like, I should be doing better than this, and then I end up getting injured and calling injury. Like that's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the hardest part. I mean, I think especially after like maybe that there's another reason for not as many people in that age group because, especially the top performers at these, division, any college level program, you're used to seeing those numbers because you're practicing like every day, sometimes twice a day, you're lifting, you're with a group, you're with a coach that's guiding everything for you. And then all of a sudden you're on your own and you're doing it more like haphazardly or like less frequently than you were. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, like, yeah, it should make sense. Those numbers aren't going to stay where they were, but it's so hard to see the numbers start to creep up and be like, oh, this sucks. I feel bad and I'm not going to just do it anymore.
Yeah, the burnout fatigue is real. I mean, because it's almost like PTSD when you get back on there and can't hit the numbers you used to and take it out of there. And you see a lot of those people like switch over to different sports, right? Like
Yeah.
I've drawn a complete blank on her name, but she was a former national team rower that won the road bike in Paris last year. It's like,
Yeah.
I get it. People want to try different sports. That's
Yeah.
fine, but come back to rowing too.
Yeah. Come back.
I guess that's a whole nother thing to think about. Like when you bring people back into the sport, like how to set the expectations to be something that people feel like they're improving their fitness, but maybe they're not reaching what they were doing way back when. But I always find like as far as from like an endurance standpoint, I feel like as you age, you do have a little bit of an endurance edge, but you lose strength. So like and as rowers, we're so into cardio, like, we're like like, at least for myself, I'm a cardio junkie, like, if someone said that I had to, like, lift all day long, or if I had to, like, get on the rowing machine all day long, I'd be, like, on the rowing machine, like, that wouldn't bother me, but the idea that I'd have to, like, go in the gym and, like, lift, like, that would, like maybe it's just me, but, like, it's that whole idea that, like, the endurance piece of it's so easy, but what we really need is that strength piece in order to make the endurance piece feel like it did when we were younger, Like I just it'll be interesting with people returning and, battling that. The fact that like my 2K used to be blah 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 and now it's such and such. Or even just that I used to do my steady state at this number and now I have to do my steady state 20 beats more than that number, like battling that will be interesting to see, as we bring more people back into the sport. So I don't know. How do you feel about it, Kate, when you like get on the machine and it's like,
Well, I just had to get over it at one point. I would just when I joined back up with the Masters a few years ago, I didn't participate in the winter, but then there were certain days, probably more in the spring or fall, just dependent on the weather, where a certain group would just go in and erg, and I'd be like, "Yeah, right, I'm not doing that. I'm going home." Or I have an erg at home, I'll go do it at home. Yeah, right. Okay. But then, at some point, it was more of a social group. So it was like, I don't want to miss these guys for like, months. So, all right, I guess I'll just get over it and do the ergs, just do the workouts. And then eventually, you just have to get past it. But it took a while. Like, yeah, it took a while. Plus, when you're working out, like we have a lot of people who hadn't rowed before and then they, learned as adults, they're kind of going in the opposite direction, right? Like the more comfortable they get with it, the faster they're getting, where you're kind of like, oh, like going in the other direction or like just kind of sustaining where you ended up and you're just kind of keeping up with where you're at. So, yeah. Yeah. So I just do what I can. I just try and keep it, whatever, like do the best I can. If I can get better each practice and start creeping that number down a little bit each time, then you just got to focus on the little gains.
But you're doing something, you're in a boat, you're having fun,
Something.
and that's so much more than so many other people are actually doing right now too. So I mean,
Yeah.
the whole big picture thing.
do you get out? Do you get out in like the single or do you get out in the boats? I know you're coordinating a lot of this. So a lot of times when you're coordinating what's going on, you don't get a lot of chances to actually take part in what's going on. But how much do you actually get to do now?
Last time I was in a rowing shell was 2017. I hopped in a boat for a practice when I was still Row New York with their master's program. Yeah, I haven't been able to get out to the water nearly as much as I'd like to. I try to ride along with the coaches and just maintain some connection with the water and the crews that are out there. But even then, it's really difficult with a lot of my schedule because fortunately and unfortunately, like a lot of the meetings I have to take in a nonprofit have to be after work hours because a lot of the people I need to meet with also have day jobs. And, it's I don't short answer, I don't get on the water nearly as much as I want to or would like to, and I miss it like crazy. I don't know if it would be good to hop in a boat right now, but yeah, I mean, it's always like the other side of it too. Like for me to just like go out and row on my own, like I would like to row with my programs, right? And put that FaceTime in and get out in a team setting. Rowing a single on my own has always been like a challenge. Like when I get time off from work, I don't want to stay at work. I'd rather go for a run or, there's some great hiking down here in the Pittsburgh area, just do something away from the water a little bit. So, but yeah, it's short answer, not nearly enough.
Well, let's try
Yeah.
to put together some alumni boats or something. Maybe for Head of the Ohio, could we do a UB alumni boat and maybe get you in it?
You can definitely do a UB alumni boat. I could not be in it. You don't
It's too
want to
busy.
carry my anchor around like it was kind of funny, like, thinking back to it, the last race I was in it for UB, I was a lightweight rower, right? Like that was literally 24 years and 104 pounds ago. So like my my strength to weight ratio is not something I would wish on anybody to carry down a rowing course right now. So, well, you guys can absolutely do that. I mean, I know there's been some rumblings of Head of the Charles Alumni 8. I know, like, that was actually the last time I raced was a UB alumni race at Head of the Charles. I think it was 2013 or
Oh
14.
yeah,
You that
yes.
both moved together, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that, I think with Dave. We talked about that. We were trying to figure out the year, and I knew Keegan was in the stroller because I brought him down. John was in the boat, John Burdick, and we went and watched. Courtney and I came down to watch. Yeah, you were in that boat too. Yeah.
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 And like Todd Voigt and now seeing him like
Todd
and
was
everything
there.
with it. Yeah, Lars.
Yeah.
Man, that was a long time ago. Fun time though, man. That was a fun row.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we should definitely try that again. That would be cool. Yeah, I mean, I have so many questions. We didn't even get into like time at UB too much, just a little bit, but I know we're up on the hour and it's gonna be, a long, hot day.
Yeah.
So we'll have to have you back for more stories.
Oh, this was great. It was
And
awesome catching up with you
yeah,
guys.
and an update on the return to row. So just one question about that is your boathouse going to be one of the pilot programs? Do you know?
Yes. Yeah, we've already
Oh,
committed to it. So
awesome.
yeah, I mean, I'm I'm semi-connected to the committee that's doing it. One of my members is on that committee, and the person that's the chair of the safety committee is also chairing that. So I know a little bit about it, but I don't know a ton of details other than it's going to happen in 2026. There's going to starting off with a few boathouses. They're looking for a couple to pilot it. So I don't know if your respective boathouses might be interested in doing something. I don't know what that overall ask is going to be, but definitely keep an eye out for it. And I think it's exactly what you were talking about before. Great re-entry point.
Oh,
We just got to set. It's not just entry points for new people, but we need re-entries for returning people too, and it could go a long way for our sport.
Yeah, the problem we've done, I know our boathouse, particularly Burn Hills, has done the Learn to Row, but not for the Learn to Row Day, but not for the last few years. I think the biggest problem with that date is that it still falls within the high school rowing calendar. And it's just been, when you have a small boathouse with like not that many people who organize those types of things, it's really hard to throw that in like right before US Rowing Nationals, the youth nationals.
So maybe this is
Yeah,
insider
the
information, but
date,
that's actually a soft date. Like we did our national learn to
the
rotate
soft date.
yesterday. So like
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you
I think
I
that's,
talked to him about it
yeah.
before, even when I was at West, I was like, hey, we can't do it this date, but can we still use the national learn to row day moniker on this day? And they were fine with it. So
Yeah.
you miss out on some of like the day of types of tags and Instagram resharing, but
Yeah.
it can still be a nice local press event. They're not going to know the difference.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, but the date can be a big thing. So if they figure out a date that works really well for whatever reason, that demographic of return to rowers, I think it could be a really cool program. So I'm excited about it.
What kind of date do you think would be good?
Ooh, yeah, now we got to think about it, right? I don't know. I don't know. So they don't have a date in mind, or do you?
That's
Do
my
you think
knowledge.
they
I
have a
don't
date?
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would vote September, the second weekend of September, not the first because that's Labor Day, but I leave the second weekend in September because the kids are back to school. So if you're trying to get people who potentially have kids are back to
Mhm.
school, but school sports are still at practice. They're not going away
Yeah.
and doing away things. And most regattas, like at least around us, most regattas start late September, not early September. So the second week in September, the high schoolers would be back to rowing. The masters people would still be rowing, but it's kind of late in their season. Like they're already kind of ramped up, and so like things of art summer's kind of happened. The boathouse is open and kind of moving, but not completely in race mode. And you skip the Labor Day. People are out of town. It's the weekend after. That would be my vote. Second
Okay.
weekend in September is Return to Row Day.
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
Get in for the fall, enjoy some winter training, and don't have to worry about 2Ks for it. Well, masters do 1K. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like it.
my vote.
I will pass it along.
Oh, look at us making history
No
here.
promises, no guarantees. Like it's a small rowing world. You just throw something out there and see what sticks.
Yeah.
See if it sticks. I like
Yeah.
that.
Cool.
Good deal. Well, it's great catching up with you guys. We should
Yeah,
definitely
you
do it
too.
again. Maybe try to
Definitely.
Yeah.
Try to do like an in-person UB reunion at some of these races too. Like that would be
Yeah.
fun. There's so many people spread out right now.
Or we could do like a live at the Head of the Ohio or something, or a post Head of the Ohio. Maybe like after it happens, we could do like a review and like highlights and all that.
You could definitely do that. I know last year there's a lot going on. Like there's going to be a new barge almost right near our finish line with a restaurant and all that other stuff. They had a Ferris wheel on one of the bridges. They celebrate Oktoberfest the same weekend as Hodo this year. So
Cool.
anybody's always welcome in Pittsburgh. We'd love to have you guys and definitely could do something cool for you if you guys want to come down and do that.
Excellent.
All right. We'll plan it. All right. Thank you. This is fun. We'll do it again.
Yeah, you guys have a great weekend. Talk to
You
you.
too.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.